Okay, Mayor, meeting is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. We certainly want to welcome everyone to the Vinton Town Council meeting for this Tuesday evening, August 17th. Susan, we will start, as always, by calling the roll, please.
Okay. Councilmember Lyles.
Here.
Councilmember Mullins. Here. Councilmember Stovall.
Here.
Mayor Gross.
Yes, here. Again, thank you folks for being here, and as you can probably tell, we are observing social distancing as a matter of caution this evening. And we will, as always, start with our moment of silence that we observe here in the town of Vinton. This allows anyone to pray or meditate as they see fit. If you pray, and I hope you will, I certainly plan to, I would ask you to keep this country, this community, and certainly this council meeting in your thoughts and prayers. Also, very good friend of this council, Mrs. Chris McCarthy, is someone we should keep in our prayers this evening. So I'll ask you to stand for that, and while we're standing, we'll also have the Pledge of Allegiance, and of course, Council Member Lyles takes care of that. Did you appoint someone?
I did. Cody Sexton, since we just came back to being together, he graciously accepted to do the pledge for us.
Graciously accepted.
Graciously accepted.
So stand, please, folks.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and once again, I will call on Councilmember Lyles to give us our list of events and happenings around town. You have that, sir?
I do. Now, on August the 20th, and don't ask me how I know this, but on August the 20th is National Lemonade Day. Be sure to go somewhere and get a lemonade. On the 21st of August is the Lancelot Sports Complex presents the McAdoo's Dog Days of Summer. It's from 2 to 5, and bring your four-legged friend for a fur-filled day of free activities, including a dog park over the ice. And they can take a dip in the outdoor pool along with you if you'd like. There'll be over 20 pet vendors there as well. On the 28th of August is the Vinton Area Chamber of Commerce presents the Mingling Market. It's from 7 to 10, and the town of Vinton will take over that night. And so please come say hey to council and staff and listen to On Common Ground. The food truck that night will be Yanni's Hot Kitchen, and of course there'll be a beverage garden. And then on the 6th of September is Labor Day, so the town of Vinton offices will be closed, and the trash and recycle pickup for that Monday and Tuesday will be on Tuesday. So just make note of that. And there's some other things, but I think we can wait till the next meeting to cover those.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We certainly appreciate that. Okay, next item is request to postpone or change anything as far as the agenda goes for tonight. Any requests?
I do, well, not a request, Mr. Mayor, but just a point of order. I have a motion, and the motion reads for the Western Virginia Regional Industrial Facilities Authority. The agenda reads, I guess, for the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission.
Okay.
So which one is it? Am I making the motion for the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission?
You are.
Okay.
That
Got it.
is my error.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Nope. If not, we will accept the agenda as presented and move on to the consent agenda for tonight, which includes the minutes of the regular council meeting of July 6th, as well as the minutes for the regular council meeting of July 20th. Are there any changes or additions to the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Mullins for approval, a second by Councilmember Lyles. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. And with that, we will move on to, which is always my favorite section of the evening, awards and introductions and presentations and all that good stuff. And Ann, I see you're on the agenda for this evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council.
Good evening, Ann.
It is my great pleasure today to present you to our newest employee, Tiffany Stewart, and her family, who is all here with her, and I finally get to meet them for the first time. So hi, good to see you. Tiffany Stewart is born, raised, and currently residing in Roanoke City with roots in Vinton, Virginia. Her grandfather, a fallen Vietnam veteran, was born and raised in Vinton and lived most of his life in the neighborhood surrounding M.A. Banks Park. Tiffany attended and graduated in 2011 from American National University with a bachelor's in business administration and accounting. She then received her master's in accounting at Liberty University in 2014. In between degrees, Tiffany married her husband, Chris Stewart, probation and parole officer for the state of Virginia. They have been married for 9 years and have 4 beautiful children, 3 boys, Shane, Isaiah, and Alexander, and 1 girl, Brooklyn. Tiffany has been working in finance for over 8 years. During 2020, she took time away from work to support her kids while they attended school virtually. She is excited to be starting a new career, new experiences, and gaining more knowledge on governmental accounting. When she is not at work, she is studying to take the CPA exam, but finds the time to hang with her family, shop, and play Sims. So welcome, Tiffany, and she came in right before audit, so she deserves a big award.
I don't know if you got here at a good time or a bad time, but Tiffany, we certainly want to welcome you to the town of Vinton and appreciate you being with us and look forward to working with you. And I got to say, you work with some great folks in finance, so glad you're with us. And I'm glad your entire family's with you. Hi there, how you doing? So, Ann, you're going to the next one too, right?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So for the next item, we would like to present the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from GFOA for the fiscal year end of June 30th, 2020. The town of Vinton has a long-standing tradition of achieving the GFOA award, and the 2020 award is actually the 26th consecutive award the town has received from GFOA. The program is judged by a panel of experts to ensure the report meets all the required reporting standards, demonstrating a spirit of full disclosure. A report of this magnitude would not be possible without the support of council, management, departments, and staff. And I would like to specifically recognize Lydia Verdillo from our office for her significant contribution to this report. And a many thanks to all the finance staff and departments who contributed information.
Okay, thank you very much, and we appreciate that. This is a big deal. You guys work hard. We appreciate the professional job you folks do in finance, and Lydia's going to shoot me for this, but won't you at least stand up or come up front so we can recognize you, okay, Lydia? And forgive me. Okay, we'll go with that. Seriously, and we do appreciate the work that you folks do. We know you work hard, and this award is an indication of your hard work and professionalism. So thank you guys for what you do. Great job. Okay, next item on the agenda is citizens' comments and petitions. This is for things that are not listed on the agenda. Are there any tonight? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. However, I would like to also at this time point out to you that we do have printed guidelines for our council meetings, and those should be attached to each of the agenda packages when you pick them up. I believe that's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sus-
at the back.
Yes. And so we have this agenda that can be picked up anytime you come in the council chambers, and as I say, those guidelines are attached to that. So as always, we want to observe those guidelines. All right, so now we will move on to our opening of the bids in just a second. At this time, I'll ask the town clerk to open and read any bids that we have received for 2 easements to construct, install, operate, repair, replace, and maintain a gas pipeline with appliances and accessories useful and necessary in connection therewith, over, under, through, and across 2121 and 2131 Cardinal Park Drive in Vinton Business Center.
All right, we have received the following bid from Roanoke Gas. Roanoke Gas Company is seeking approval to install an additional backfeed for Montgomery Village subdivision in Roanoke County. They are requesting these easements, which will go through the Vinton Business Park, which is a joint venture between Roanoke County and the town of Vinton. Roanoke County has already approved this, and so this is the only one that we have received from Roanoke Gas.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other persons desiring to submit a bid at this time? There being no further bids, the bidding is closed. Next, we will proceed to the public hearing of the proposed ordinance granting the 2 easements to construct, install, operate, repair, replace, and maintain the reference gas pipeline. And so with that, we will move on to the public hearing. And as always, we will, let me officially open the public hearing, and we will start by a report from the staff. And Jeremy, I think you're going to do that, right?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
Members of council, very briefly, the opening of the public bids is the first step in the process spelled out in the Virginia Code for granting an easement over town-owned property. The next step is to conduct a public hearing where the town council can consider the bid or bids received and make such other investigation as town council feels is appropriate. The purpose of this easement is, as indicated, it's to run gas lines across property that is owned jointly by the town of Vinton and Roanoke County in the Vinton Business Park to access the neighborhood on the far side. There was only one bid, and so that is the only bid to be considered in the public hearing. If you have any questions, that's, obviously I'm happy to answer those. But with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any public comments? Anyone have a comment? No? Council, you have any questions for Jeremy or any discussion? Nope. Okay, if not, we will officially close the public hearing, and we do need to consider the adoption of the ordinance. The ordinance would, in fact, grant the easement as we've heard described by our attorney, Jeremy. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I'm sorry. Let me make one correction to the ordinance before we approve it.
I'm sorry for that.
That's okay. In the first paragraph, I had referred to in the town of Vinton, Virginia, which is an error. Actually, it's in the county. But, so I'm going to strike that language next to the last sentence, in the town of Vinton, Virginia. And so we'll adopt this as revised.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance as revised.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Lyles, second by Councilmember Stovall. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty, not here, sorry. Mayor Gross.
Yes. Ordinance passes. Jeremy, town attorney is listed. I don't see anything else. I appreciate your presentation. And as always, good-looking tie. You didn't get the word, right? We have to put him on the list, right, Mark?
Got him on the list.
Yeah.
He just gave me get him on the list. I got him on there.
All right. Thank you, sir. And with that, we'll turn it over to the town manager.
Chief didn't get the memo either.
What's that?
The chief?
Oh, yeah. the
Oh,
chief.
you want, I'll put you on the list too. I definitely want you on the list.
Mike is in charge of the ties. Thank you, Mike, for doing that. Pete, it's all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to see everybody this evening. We have a couple of briefings tonight. The first one, I've asked Ms. Collins and Mr. Herndon to provide an update on our EOP, our Emergency Operations Plan.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Our EOP plan, we first put this together, and it was approved by council in 2018. We just have updated it by staff in 2020. And we are scheduled to do an update and review of any changes in January of 2022 and bring it in front of y'all for approval in June of '22. A couple side notes about our current EOP plan that I don't know if y'all are aware of is we have installed a generator that will function and serve the whole building of the War Memorial. That's served as our primary shelter. We also have backups as Lynn Haven Church and Benton Baptist Church, but their numbers have been scaled back because of the COVID. So the War Memorial is our primary shelter. A few other things we have is generators throughout the town that will help us during power outages and to fuel our tanks, and not fuel our tanks, but fill our water tanks. Of course, I just talked about the generator at War Memorial. We also have a mobile generator that services some well sites, or they have transfer switches on them, and we can, all but 3, but the way that the wells are set up to do our tanks, we can go to each well and pump all 5 of our tanks up, or actually 7 of our tanks up. They are capable of running at 72 hours without refueling. So it's 3 days, so that's good on that. We also have 3 generators at our pump stations that transfer our wastewater to the wastewater plant in Roanoke City. Our 3rd Street generator services our Public Works building. Also is our pump house that goes across the creek there. We have a generator here. And then they are serviced and maintained every 3 months and refueled. And if we have an event, we have them topped off after that event. So they're always full of fuel. I think that's really about it on the update.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Questions, folks? So obviously, Bo, if in a emergency situation such as a storm or something, if our citizens lost power for an extended period of time, they could go to the War Memorial. That should be set up for emergency location, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And it's, I consider this really important, and I know, it's just a plan, but it's a detailed plan. You folks have worked hard on this over the years, and I really think it's important to be as prepared as we can, I'm sure there can always be surprises, so I just want to thank you folks for the work that you put into this, because I think it's really important for us to provide the best service we can for our citizens in a state of an emergency. So thank you for that. Appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
Thank you.
All right.
With that, how do we notify the citizens that the War Memorial is
Yeah.
open, or, if they're not watching tonight, or, didn't know anything about us having a shelter at the War Memorial, how do we, during a difficult situation
In
or
the past,
emergency?
you would think we'd go all social media and the news and stuff, but when you're the power outage, you have a chance of losing cell phone signal and things like that. In the past, we've went through with the police department and with the intercom system and made that announcement going through neighborhoods.
Oh, okay.
It's really about the best way we can do it, other than outside of the other normal.
Yeah, that's why I was curious if the power was out and people relied on a computer and they
Yeah, when
didn't
we-
have any power.
When we had the derecho, that's how we did, and we was able also to take our town bus and pick up people and bring them to the War Memorial and the community center for them to get out of the heat and wait for their power to get back. And then also supply them with water. It was a water station because at the time, we didn't have the generator.
Right.
And so we couldn't pump the well, so we was out buying water, and luckily at that time, half the town was out, but the War Memorial wasn't out of power, so we was able to supply water there. So people would bring in 5-gallon buckets and drums and, gallon containers, and we would fill them up full of water so they can, take it back to their house.
Right,
And
right.
also too, if we get overwhelmed or get overcapacitated, we send them to the Bergman Center, and that's where the Red Cross sets up.
Okay, all
We
right.
have a backup there if we need it.
So there's actually several facilities. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I just said, cool, congratulations. I mean, to me, hats off to leadership that plans, especially in your position and in your position. I mean, you plan for the fact of this kind of stuff, this disaster. That's the worst thing you want to do is have a disaster and go, okay. Well, But yeah, but congratulations, absolutely. I agree with you, Mayor. Echo what you say.
Really important. Yes, sir. Chief?
Just to emphasize on your question, depending on the gravity of the situation, you also have Remote County Alert System, which is Roku Alert, which of course, if you're registered, it sends mass text and call to all the communities and tells you the location, vice versa. But we also, a lot of times here in Vinton, I think the last one was due to cold weather, and I think a vehicle hit a telephone pole, shut down 8 Porters Haven, 3rd Street. So we were able to go to that area, and myself and HR, just as a team, we basically picked everybody up and brought them to the War Memorial.
That's great, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's a pretty thorough plan. You've really gotten down to,
Mass alert.
Great.
yeah. So that's great, that's great. I think that's really important. Appreciate, as the Chief said, or as Mike said, the leadership there. It's really important. Any other comments, questions? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Yeah, have a good
report.
night.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Council, I'm here to brief you the project Walnut Avenue Phase 1. This is from 5th Street to Town West limit. Back in 2015, when what they call it, Virginia Department of Transportation RSTP grant, this is Road Surface Transportation Program, has now changed to STBG, which is Surface Transportation Block Grant Fund. The project originally is to have a pedestrian bridge over Tinker Creek. Since then, the scope of the project has been changed to bicycle and pedestrian accommodation along Walnut Avenue, based on the engineers and also regional perspective. It's better to do that instead of having a pedestrian bridge. Additionally, when we first talked about the bridge, that was over the vacant parcel that the town bought through the flood mitigation grant money, and FEMA basically do not give us approval to put anything that involve concrete or permanent structure in the floodway. So we cannot have to change the scope of that project from pedestrian bridge to bicycle and pedestrian accommodation. And engineers were hired in 2019, and then the original project does not have right-of-way because it was town-owned property. So for this project, even though the scope has been changed, we do not have right-of-way. The fund has to be paid to purchase portion of the property that needed for the project have to be funded by the town fund. And we are talking about 3 properties owned by Viking Fence Corporation and Nilam Corporation, Alvaro Convenience Store, the vacant parcel where Viking Fence have their storage for their fences, and also the Viking Fence office and Bob Restaurant. And then basically the front part of that property is where the portion of the right-of-way construction easement are needed for the project. Having said that, the town manager, staff, and the town engineer that we hired, Mayor and Craig, we've been we have involved the property owners since 2020, April 2020, and we did meet with them several times. There is a rendering of the project. If you show the Bob restaurant there and the Alvaro convenience store, and then the front portion, that's what kind of the portion of the right-of-way that the town needed for the project to be completed. Having said that, we have sent the property owners involved the offer for the property, for the portion of that, and we hope to hear from them sometime this week. In the meantime, as of last week, we were finally able to get Norfolk Southern in to have a discussion. We've been trying to get them for the last year and a half, and then anyway, that's, we may have to bring it to council as far as the Norfolk Southern. They do not allow easement. What they're talking about is license agreement. So I do have, hopefully by next council meeting, we do have a resolution to indicate how much are we talking about the fund needed for these 3 properties and also for the license agreement. And staff would like to acknowledge Mr. Council Member Lyles and Council Member Stovall. You know how VDOT project, the price keep going up. So it was 1.4 million based on the scoping. The revised cost estimate is 1.6 million. And in May of last year, additional fund was requested, and the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Transportation Planning Organization approved the additional 200,000 for the project to move forward. So I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have.
Thank you. Council, you have any questions?
We're also doing that on the other side too, right, Anita? Where the old Southern States used to be. Well, I can't remember the name.
Correct.
Cargill now?
Yeah.
Yes, that's basically this one where we'll start where the 5th Street is, and then we'll have crosswalk along across Walnut and crosswalk across 5th Street to connect to the Glade Creek Greenway Phase 2B. There is funded, and we are, as far as the engineering plan has been designed, so the 2B section of Glade Creek Greenway, we're just talking about the portion where the Norfolk Southern, that one will be connect to the sidewalk. Then the whole idea is to connect to Roanoke City Tinker Creek Greenway. And then the other portion, the phase 2 of the Walnut Avenue, is from Farmers Market to 1st Street. That is about 880,000. It is funded too under the same fund program. And then the middle portion from 1st to 5th Street is funded under Smart Scale. That is about $8.2 million. And since that project is more than $5 million, VDOT will administer that portion because it's not an easy project. So any VDOT project takes a lot of paperwork and time to administer. So the whole corridor is funded. And then as far as the middle portion, that will not until 2023 or 2024, the earliest for that Smart Scale.
Everything you see there on yellow is pedestrian accommodation. So it's a little bit wider on the Bob's and Viking Fence side because that's a 10-foot wide shared youth path, where on the Cargill side, it's only a sidewalk.
Yeah. I mean, did we have to get a?
No.
We didn't have to do anything.
No, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't misunderstand
No,
your
you're good.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already had sufficient right-of-way on the Southern States Cargill side to accommodate the sidewalk.
Gotcha.
So we're purchasing approximately 10 foot of road frontage from Eric and Mr. Patel to accommodate the shared use path.
It'll make it look a lot better through there too. Give it a lot of structure.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. Very useful. Okay. All right, any other questions or comments?
Another gateway coming into Vinton.
There you go. There you go. All roads lead to Vinton.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anita. Good report.
And Mr. Mayor, the last briefing I have is Ms. Cantrell will brief council on a new policy on grants.
Thank you, sir. While she's coming up, let me just mention, I know a lot of people worked hard on the emergency services plan, emergency operations plan, and Donna was certainly instrumental in that. So Donna Collins, thank you for your help on that too. As I say, I know a lot of folks were involved in that, so, all right. Ann?
Thank you. So due to a large amount of federal grant funding in the town, staff has prepared a town grant policies and procedures for consideration of the town council. The purpose of the policy is to ensure proper oversight of funds, minimize the town's risk of non-compliance, and to ensure proper administration and accounting of all grants. The policy requires documentation to be sent to the finance department as a backup file. It requires a central grant file that will be maintained by the department seeking the grant funds. The policy defines the department managing the grant is ultimately responsible for grant compliance and should ensure compliance with federal requirements as well. So it kind of sets the responsibilities, who's responsible for which piece, which is not currently defined. The departments who are applying for grants are also required to inform the finance department, which isn't done now, and we will maintain a file of all pending grant applications and what their status is. Any grants pertaining to technology will be required to submit a form to Roanoke County IT. That's going to ensure that the equipment and software purchased will be compatible and supported before they go through the purchase of it with the grant. The policy just sets a lot of the matching requirements. If you have a match, what do you do? If you need to bring something to town council, what's the procedure? If a grant application is denied, the finance department needs to maintain a record of those also. So the policy outlines the regulations for procurement to ensure compliance with federal, state, and local policies and procedures. And it also says the department may contact the finance department for assistance if needed with any specific compliance concerns. So if you're really wondering how this purchase of a widget is going to fit into the federal compliance and you just don't know, you can give us a call and we'll research it, probably with Jeremy as well.
Well, I'm glad.
So the policy also outlines reporting requirements and responsibilities to not just the management of the funds day to day, but who's going to be reporting it, who's responsible for uploading those. For indirect cost recovery, it goes over, please contact the finance department to identify those costs if we want to recover it. It also says that the finance department may use some of those costs to offset their cost with payments and the external audit and overseeing the grant. The policy addresses new personnel funded by the grant. So if anybody has a grant and new personnel need to be added, it has the procedure for the town manager to add them to the class plan, where they need to be added. They need to turn in a form on how much time they're dedicated to the grant. So it reviews all of those minutia required. And then it also states that federal, state, and local grant revenue should be receipted as a revenue instead of an expenditure refund, which is a grant compliance issue. And then year-end procedures are identified. This ensures timely reconciliation by departments. The policy also contains several summaries of the federal management standards and procurement standards. So if they have any questions, they don't have to necessarily go to the 200-page federal guidance. They can find a summary quickly in our policy. And then lastly, the policy includes a town administration exemption, and that allows the town manager to exempt any grant from the local requirements of the policy at his sole discretion. This provides administration flexibility to address funding that may be grant funding, but it doesn't squarely fit into the typical grant funding category. So this is a 12-page policy, would not have been possible without the help of Jeremy Carroll, who read the whole thing and provided some great input, and then Susan, who did a lot to help format the policy and get it in the right format.
All right, Ed, thank you very much. As usual here in Vinton, it's a team effort, right? So I appreciate everyone working on that. Jeremy, I guess this is something we see everywhere in all localities.
You see it probably not as often as you would expect. I think you will see more of it
Okay.
in the future, especially as additional grant funds begin to come out over the next few years. Federal legislation.
Okay.
But this is a policy that, as I mentioned, I reviewed it. I went over those federal regulations and made sure it complied with regulations. And it's a good policy that really provides clear guidance to the folks in the town on what they need to do.
Gotcha.
This is, if I may add, this is to be likely a standard for us to follow in the future, so we're trying to be ahead of the curve.
Oh, okay. Good, good. That sounds great. Council, you have any questions, comments? Okay. Ann, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always, it sounds like a lot of work has gone into this, so appreciate your efforts.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of items requiring action this evening. The first being, this is an MOU between the town and the county. We have done this before, most recently for Gish's Mill, and prior to that for Vineyard Station. So essentially, if I can get to the right page here, I apologize. This agreement in this particular case is for 3 years, and the MOU states that the county will reimburse the town for any net new revenues received on the parcels for the hotel property. We expect that it will generate approximately $150,000 annually in those 3 years, as well as accounts for the reimbursement of building permit fees paid by the developer for the construction of the hotel. So the cap of the project is $450,000 over the 3-year period, not counting the $30,000 in expected building permit fees. Roanoke County actually has already authorized just the timing of our respective boards' meeting schedules. The county approved this MOU at their July 27th Board of Supervisors meeting. So again, just want to express my appreciation to Jill Loop and Roanoke County Economic Development, as well as their Board of Supervisors and administration, for their continued support of our economic development projects. They would not be possible without their support. In all 3 cases, the funding that they're supplying is going back into gateway enhancements. So infrastructure, aesthetics, and functionality of those 3 parcels, these 3 economic development projects, are where the funds are being spent. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, you have any questions or comments? Well, I just briefly would like to comment. This is a biggie. We've been working on this a long time. This is another one of those situations where it seems like it kind of goes through council really quick, but that's after many years, in this case, of hard work by a lot of people. And we certainly want to express our appreciation to Roanoke County for their support of this MOU. As Pete mentioned, without them, a lot of these projects in town simply wouldn't happen. So we certainly appreciate their partnership. So, Council, you have before you a resolution that would, in fact, approve the MOU and support the MOU with Roanoke County that would support our hotel motel project.
So moved.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion by Councilman Stovall, second by Councilman Lyles. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall?
Yes.
Mayor Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, does this go back to them now for their for their approval also?
Just for the signature, they've already approved it in July 27th.
Okay. Is that what we were there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Got
So
it.
we just have to pass it back for signature at this point.
Okay.
And the actual reimbursements don't take place until a year after the project is expected to be open, so we can collect those full revenues. And again, I just wanted to state that this isn't current dollars. These are new revenues generated by the project that were redeveloped or redirected back into, again, the gateway and property improvements.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a biggie.
It is that.
Another gateway.
Yeah, there you go.
The second item requiring action this evening, I will ask the town's assistant town manager to present Mr. Cody Sexton.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council.
Good evening.
This evening, for your action, is the consideration of a resolution to create 3 new positions and approving changes to the classification plan and approving the restoration of an additional position. So On July 20th, 2021, council held a briefing and held 2 public hearings to amend the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget and appropriated funding from the General Fund, Utility Fund, Capital Fund, and the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 grant in order to fund 3 new positions in the town. These positions are the Capital Projects Manager, a Utility Clerk, and, of course, the restored position of Police Officer 1. Since that time, we have also, due to some staff reorganization and filling a vacancy, or a vacant position, if you will, in the Finance Department, have the need to create a customer service representative position as well. So lots of moving parts here with the restoration of an old position, creation of 2 new positions, and then 2 new positions and 2 new sort of spots in the budget, and then the reclassification of a 4th position. So if you have any questions on those moving pieces, be happy to answer those and recap from last meeting. But the resolution in your package addresses all of those moving pieces. It also gives permission to the town manager to classify those 4 positions into the town's classification plan, sort of based on the standard policies and procedures for that. And then lastly, the approval of these new positions does not bind town staff in any way to immediately fill these positions or fill these positions at all. It simply creates the positions for use by town staff. Town manager, assistant town manager, myself, and other department heads will work together in consultation with council to ensure that the timing of the filling of these positions aligns with the needs and the goals of the town and the respective departments. So if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that explanation. Council, you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, just a comment that whenever you're adding positions, you're doing fairly well. So, and I like the capital projects manager. When you have a capital projects manager, it means you have a lot of capital and you can do a lot of projects.
That is the hope. That is the hope.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Boy.
And if I just make a comment, in addition to having a capital project plan, improvement plan for a change, the addition of the ARPA funds have also created, some opportunity for construction. So we are waiting to see exactly the appropriate time to fill that position based on how we move forward with ARPA and our CIP. But it is quite a opportunity here. A lot of potential projects for us to be involved in over the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. I like adding positions rather than cutting them. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I might add to it, our staff has really been overwhelmed. Well, perhaps I shouldn't say overwhelmed because they've been handling everything, but they have really been wearing a lot of different hats and working hard. So hopefully this will certainly help our entire operation as far as efficiency goes. So it's a good idea. Any other comments, questions? If not, Council, you have before you a resolution that would approve the staff positions as outlined by our Assistant Town Manager.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Marlin, second by Councilmember Lyles. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall?
Yes.
Mayor Gross?
Yes. The resolution passes. Thank you, Cody.
Mr. Mayor, I have no additional updates this evening outside of what was contributed to council via the mayor's report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Good
you.
report, by the way.
Thank you.
Always
Yes.
very detailed. Love it.
Yep, certainly. Okay, if you have nothing else, and if nothing further, we'll move on to some appointments that need to be made this evening. The first would involve the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission, and I understand this is due to a request by the commission to have an alternate member. Is that correct?
Right, with their new charter change, it allows alternates to the 2 positions, so that's what we're doing.
Okay. Sir?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Vice Mayor McCarty as an alternate member for Mayor Gross, for a term beginning August 17th, 2021, and ending June 30th, 2024. And also Cody Sexton as an alternate member for Richard W. Peters for a term beginning August 17th, 2021, and ending June 30th, 2022.
All right, thank you, sir. We have a motion by our council member Stovall to appoint the vice mayor and our assistant town manager as alternates for the regional commission. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we do a voice vote. Do you want a roll
You
call?
can, just do a voice.
Okay.
it'll be fine.
Motion was by council member Stovall, the second by council member Mullins. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All right, the next one is the Roanoke Valley Regional Cable TV Committee. And I think that this position was filled temporarily, and now we're talking about a permanent appointment for a new
Unexpired
term.
term and now a new term, correct?
Right. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Ray Sandifer to the Roanoke Valley Regional Cable TV Committee for the new 3-year term beginning September 1st, 2021 and ending August 31st, 2024.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Mullins, Councilmember Mullins, second by Councilmember Stovall. Any comments, questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All right. And now our committee reports for this evening. Ann, you've been busy this evening, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. So tonight, a little different format. We are undergoing our annual audit, and Susan graciously said, "You probably don't need to do a PowerPoint tonight." I said, "Thank you." So I'll just do a voice briefing. So the first item that we went over at our last meeting was the June 29th, 2021 financial statements. I know that sounds a little silly. That's actually month 12 in our system, and when you are in government accounting, there's 13 months. So month 13 is where all of our audit adjustments are made. So this is our preliminary June financial statement. As of right now, the preliminary figures show a great financial snapshot with a close to $0 revenue and expenditure in the general fund. So as of June 29th, our expenditures over revenue was $41. Can't get much closer than that.
That's awesome.
The grant fund had expenditures over revenue of $334,000, which is expected for reimbursable grants, not a surprise. The utility fund had revenues over expenses of $433,000 in this report, and the capital fund had revenue of $949,000 net, but this has been carried forward to fiscal year '22. And then the stormwater fund had a net revenue of $256,000, and that does include $160,000 that was rolled forward for a grant match. So at the end of the day, everything came in much better than expected, and we'll bring you the final report after the audit for June 30th. The next thing that we covered in our Finance Committee was the town grant policy. So you just had the full briefing on that, and the plan is to adopt a policy at our meeting in September. Then the next thing that we went over was a budget appropriation for right-of-way acquisition, and Anita also had that on the agenda, and the committee moved that forward to a council briefing. Then Mr. Sexton provided a legislative discussion regarding state ARPA spending, and so that was just an update provided for the committee, and it wasn't moved forward, no further action. And then we also had War Memorial rental waivers that the committee reviewed, and that was just another update for the committee, no action required. And then lastly, we actually had a June budget transfer that was approved by the committee. I believe this may have been the second one ever approved since we adopted our transfer policy, but it was really fortuitous because we were able to move a transfer that was unexpectedly happened after our June activity. And so at the end, that is what we covered. The next meeting is September 27th at 2 p.m.
All right.
Thank you. Any questions on the Finance Committee?
Any questions, comments? And again, thank you. The Finance Committee can be a real eye-opener. I guess we have to have 13 months because we got so much to do, right?
That's right.
But thank you, seriously, you're always very organized, and those committee meetings are great, so thank you for that. All right, with that, we will turn it over to the capable hands of town council, and so we'll begin with council member Lyles. You have anything further this evening?
Just a couple things. I mentioned the event, the Dog Days of Summer. And if you haven't been to that, and I think they've only done it once since they've taken over Lancelot, and they didn't have it last year, but it's a really good time to see all the dogs out there on the ice and all them playing with the toys and swimming. And Pearl loved it. She's excited to go back this year, so we'll be there.
Awesome.
And then one thing I didn't mention, but it's because we'll have another council meeting before that, but just so people can put it on their calendars, because we've worked really hard on it. Anita and her team has worked for 3 years on this, and it's a penny for your thoughts. It's the Vinton zoning ordinance. Our zoning ordinances, or all of our ordinances, were amended last time, I think, in 1995. And before that was 1950. So it's way overdue, and Anita and her team have been working, like I said, along with the Planning Commission for 3 years. And they've come up with a really interactive way for the citizens to get involved and kind of see, actually visually and participate in what they're going to do, tours, and everybody has a few pennies to vote on what they like, and so that's why it's a penny for your thoughts. And so for all the citizens that say, we never have any input or anything like that, here's an opportunity for you to get out there and get involved and share your thoughts and what you would like to see in the town before these ordinances are just amended with no input. So that's September 9th from 4:30 to 6:30. There'll be 2 tours. One tour starts at 4 to 5, and the other tour is 5:30 to 6:30. So if you can't make both of them, or can't make the whole time, at least you can go at 4 or 5 or 5:30 or 6.
Great.
Yeah. And
We get to keep the pennies?
Times are tight. I doubt it.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. All right, so we will move to Councilmember Mullins. Do you have anything further this evening?
I would like to thank Jeremy Carroll and also Ann in the finance office. The reports and the policies and procedure updates, I appreciate that, because that's, I feel like I like for somebody to tell me exactly what's happening, and you do, and you've done all your work, and I appreciate that so much. It makes our job very easy. I appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Stovall, you have anything?
Mr. Mayor, I'm good. We're in a great position. We talked about hiring people, naturally the hard work of all the staff and everything that we got going on. And so, but I'm good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. I just want to mention a couple of things tonight. Keith, did you have on your list the ribbon cutting for Bank of Botetourt?
It is not on my list, but that is
Okay, so
Thursday.
that will be Thursday morning, ribbon cutting. I believe it's at 10 a.m.
Ribbon cutting will take place at 9:30, and then there's an open house starting at 10.
Okay, great. So we're very
They'll
excited.
pass you, maybe they'll give you a couple of pennies so that you can do the pennies for your thoughts.
I could use them, Mike. Yeah. So yeah, we're very excited to have those folks in town. Obviously, they built a very attractive building, so I think it'll be a great addition to our business community. Very, very excited to have them here in the town of Vinton. I'd like to congratulate Chief Drummond and the police department once again for the National Night Out. I thought it was a great event. Everyone had a good time, and the hot dogs were really good, so I guess you made them, right? So actually, Pete was working on them. Yeah, I did. Right? Pete worked on them. Several folks did. There's a lot of people.
The hot dogs were good. The cooks wasn't too pretty, but the hot dogs were good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. But no, it was a good night. The weather turned out good and everything, so it was a very good night here in the town of Vinton. A lot of fun. It was an opportunity to see some old friends, so it was good. And I'd just like to briefly, without belaboring it too much, reiterate what you said about the penny for your thoughts. The ordinance update meetings are really important. As Keith mentioned, it's an opportunity for our citizens to have input. And, it seems, I'm sure it's not planned this way, but it seems a lot of those community meetings kind of come in bunches, and several years ago, we had quite a few. We had a lot of meetings every couple of months. It seemed like it was a citizen meeting, and pretty well attended for the most part. And people sometimes forget how important this is, but it's really vital to our community because it, in this case, it helps us determine the ordinances. It almost always determines something that's going on in town. For instance, one of them that jumps out at me is, you guys may recall, several years ago, we had a public meeting that actually determined the appearance of the Roanoke County Library, down to picking out the color of the brick and the shape and everything. And that was determined by our citizens at those public meetings. So they are important. They determine what goes on in town. So I would encourage everyone to come out if they possibly can. All right. Anything further to come before council this evening? If there's nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, second.
I'll second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye and going home. Thank you, folks. God bless.